Welcome to Dejobnik, your command post for clarity and perspective.
Good afternoon. I'm Avi Hyman, Israeli government spokesman. This is day 146 of the October 7th war. I want to start today's briefing with an important update on the progress of our war against Hamas. After almost 5 months of war, here are the latest figures. Firstly, the Hamas tunnel network. The IDF has calculated and mapped 500 kilometers of tunnels, which is about 300 miles. Some of these tunnels go down more than 200 feet. The IDF is going through them methodically and systematically. On Hamas casualties, we know that Hamas had around 30,000 fighters. Islamic Jihad had around between 5,000 and 10,000 fighters at the beginning of the war. I can share with you that Israel has already killed over 11,000 Hamas terrorist fighters in Gaza. In addition, we've also killed 1,300 perpetrators of the October 7th massacre. We have 2,000 Hamas fighters captured. That makes a total of 14,000 Hamas terrorists that we have killed or captured. Now, even a liberal estimate of wounded Hamas terrorists would put the number of those taken off the battlefield to a whopping 25,000, meaning there are only about 15,000 fighters left. These are huge achievements in a short time frame. We're getting close to the point where we have destroyed the majority of Hamas's military capabilities. In addition, we have destroyed 90% of Hamas' stockpile of missiles and their missile-making capabilities. That includes their large underground missile factories. We see victory in sight. We have already destroyed 18 out of 24 Hamas terror battalions, but we cannot leave a quarter of Hamas battalions in Rafah. We know that if left intact, Hamas will reconstitute themselves immediately. I want to be clear on this point. It is essential for any future peaceful Middle East that we have total victory in destroying Hamas, together with the war aims of releasing the hostages and ensuring that Gaza doesn't pose a threat. The government has also made clear that once Israel begins its final intense phase of fighting in Rafah to destroy Hamas, the operation will be weeks away from completion, not months. Now, Prime Minister Netanyahu met today with UN Coordinator for Humanitarian Aid to Gaza. They spoke about... They met at his office in Jerusalem with Sigrid Kaag, the former Deputy Prime Minister of the Netherlands and current UN Coordinator for Humanitarian Aid to Gaza. In a constructive meeting, they discussed some of two current challenges in the region and possible policies to confront them. These figures formed the basis for the briefing given by Israel's Defense Minister Yoav Gallant last night to US Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin. Minister Gallant briefed the Secretary on the IDF's recent achievements. During the briefing, the Minister reiterated the defense establishment's determination to continue operating until the removal of this threat, the destruction of Hamas battalions, the elimination of Hamas leadership, and the return of the hostages. In discussing the hostage crisis, Minister Gallant emphasized and thanked the US for its leadership and international pressure to achieving a framework that will enable the return of the hostages. Minister Gallant and Secretary Austin also discussed the serious situation in the north of Israel, where we detailed the ongoing Hezbollah war on our northern communities. Hezbollah in Iran needs to understand that the state of Israel will not tolerate threats against our citizens. Violations of our sovereignty are being met and will continue to be met with all the necessary measures. required to ensure our security. Minister Gallant concluded the call by expressing his appreciation for to the Secretary for his commitment to Israel's security and the administration and indeed the American people support for the partnership. Okay, now a update from Kogat. Yesterday, Colonel Eldad Goren, head of the Civil Department at Kogat, met with Samantha Powers of USAID at the Kerem Shalom crossing. The discussion focused on Israel's ongoing efforts to deliver humanitarian aid, as well as exploring ways to expand the amount of aid for the civilians of Gaza. Yesterday, 221 trucks carrying humanitarian aid were inspected and transferred to the Gaza Strip. 147 trucks were inspected and transferred via Kerem Shalom, and 74 trucks were inspected at Nitzana. We say again, there is no limit to the amount of aid that can enter Gaza. Okay, that brings us to the end of our briefing for today. I will now take your questions.
Thank you. First question from Dan Williams. Will the number of Israeli Muslims admitted to Al-Aqsa for peak Ramadan prayers be limited, as Minister Ben-Gvir announced last week, or has he been overruled by Prime Minister Netanyahu?
Hi Dan, good to hear from you. I'll say that Ramadan is coming, and we wish a Ramadan Kareem to all of the Israeli Muslims. Mosques across the country will be open. There will be prayers and commemoration of Ramadan across Israel, because Israel is a state that honors and respects all religions and freedom of religion. The specific issue of prayer on the Temple Mount, in Al-Aqsa, is currently still under discussion by the cabinet. We are awaiting a final update from security sources, including the police, etc., who will give their full security evaluation, and we will then make a decision based on ensuring that both people can pray, the ability to pray, while also ensuring security and all of the health issues related to having a large crowd at any site at any time.
Thank you. Question from Melanie Lidman. Can you please comment on the incident this morning in Gaza City where people were waiting for aid distribution? There are reports of more than 70 killed and reports that Israeli soldiers shot on the crowd. Thank you. That's Melanie Lidman from AP.
Melanie, thank you very much for your question, as always. I can tell you this is a developing situation. My understanding this far, and this is unfolding, as I say, and developing, my understanding thus far is that humanitarian aid vehicles entered the Gaza Strip and were overwhelmed by people attempting to essentially loot, to take that aid from those aid trucks. And at some point, and you can surely see this in some of the videos that the IDF have distributed. At some point, the trucks were overwhelmed, and the people driving the trucks, which were Gazan civilian drivers, plowed into the crowds of people, ultimately killing, my understanding is, tens of people. I don't have anything more specific to that. It is unfolding. And I'll ask you to stay in close touch with the IDF Spokesman's unit for more information. It's obviously a tragedy, but we're not sure of the specifics quite yet.
Second question from Dan Williams. How many Palestinian Islamic Jihad fighters have been killed, to your knowledge?
So it all goes in, Dan. You can play the tape, so to speak. As to the numbers that I gave. It all goes in to the numbers of, like I said, over 14,000 all in. So yeah, I don't have a specific number for Islamic Jihad. But as you can see clearly, we have a clear path to victory. As the Prime Minister said, we're not going after half of the terrorists. We're not going after a quarter of the terrorists or even three-quarters of the terrorists. We're going after full victory.
Thank you. That was the last question.
Okay, thank you very much for your time. We will be back here at a similar time on Monday. Thank you very much.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and hit subscribe to stay updated with our latest content. Until next time, stay informed and inspired. This is Dejobnik signing off.